Welcome guys to another episode of Boom Arena. Today we're gonna be continuing our series of analyzing decks of top 10 players from the recent season, and today we're gonna be looking at this Dark Knight Faun King used by Kaizen, a very new player to the field which kinda proved himself by playing many different interesting decks, but it was the deck he was using the most. In fact, in all of these videos I'm picking the most used deck of these players to reach these top 10 spots, and Kaizen was using this Dark Knight Faun King deck pretty much, and today I'm gonna just be analyzing how to play it and what are the major ideas of how to just play a heavier decks. Alright, so the first thing that is a huge tip of playing with a heavier decks, it's gonna be a patience. With cycle decks, you pretty much want to fight. For all damage that you can get, so you can get pretty much stressed about every hit you take, every hit your opponent gets, every hit you get. It kind of gets very close to a wire. With heavier decks, usually you relinquish control of like every single damage, but you're trying to play not on a micro level, which micro represents like a mini actions of every card. You're more more trying to focus on macro interactions, which are like big ones. If your opponent plays a card, he cannot be able to play it for another cards and things like this. So okay, my opponent already calls a good game because I've got a very good push, and in a way he enabled this push to be created, because I never play a naked Dark Knight Faun King push without getting an info of what my opponent is running, but my opponent was running a very relatively bridge spammy deck, and once he lost his cards to my cards, I just threw a Dark Knight in the front and won the game instantly. Another thing about this deck is that it has Bone Blasters, which are pretty much outliers. Every card in this deck is pretty much a heavy card that has a potential of causing a lot of trouble to a tower. And in a way, Bone Blasters are the outliers because they're just a threat for 2 mana, which can be easily stopped, and if you don't, they will do damage, but they won't leave, they won't get a normal value that you want to get out of your cards, etc, etc. So, okay, he's gonna obviously throw a noob. That's normal, it's Lord of Paying 4. He, I believe, have finished 13th in the world, which is obviously nice score, but unfortunately he's not gonna be included in my series. I think I missed this Piercing Archer, which is gonna be pretty embarrassing. I'm also be trying to play some more aggressive things against him, since he's gonna be playing a Dark Knight as well. So right now we're gonna be just trading at the bridge, and he's gonna have to defend this Ghost. It's just, without question, Ghost is more threatening of these two threats, and okay, he chooses to defend neither, so his plan will be to stack against me, and in a way we're just playing two very similar decks against each other right now, with very similar plans. So his plan will be to stack up against me and kill me, and that's gonna be the same plan for me. I'm gonna be playing this, and this. I'm gonna even try to play a bullets against this, just to be safe. Usually you want to play a troop, but I didn't have ghosts, so it kinda sucked and I had to play spell. Right now he's gonna be playing poison, and usually if your opponent playing bridge spam plays spell, you know you are ahead because you can just play this and be ahead in playing with a big cards that pretty much decide the game. I'm gonna play another Faun King. He's gonna be playing the exact same thing because his deck pretty much revolves around the same targets that I do. He's gonna take my Piercing Archer, which is gonna be a very good thing for him. However, I'm gonna win the Battle of Faun Kings, and that's gonna be more prevalent skirmish, because right now I'm gonna be just having some advantage to play with. Also, this T-Rex will perish, and I'm gonna be playing Bone Blasters on the opposite side because he will have to stop them, but at the same time, my push with Dark Knight, Faun King, and now the 5th is gonna be very strong and pretty much impossible for him to stop because Dark Knight locks, he has no mana, and that's gonna be it. Very good game. I think that my commentary wasn't enough to express how this matchup was supposed to be played, so I think the gameplay will speak for itself while we jump to the game number 3. And we're in another game, I think the last for this video. The thing that I wanted to talk right now is the skill cap. So, many people consider heavier decks as a low skill decks because you basically play less cards than a cycle decks. And with that being said, you have a lower room to making a mistake, because if you're playing, let's say you want to be perfect, everyone wants to be perfect, but no one is. And I mean, in a game you can be perfect, but obviously for the practical purposes you can always improve no matter what it is. So with heavier decks, it's actually more rare to see mistakes, but at the same time, I think the heavier decks like this just require the different skill set than the cycle decks, because like you've seen, I didn't do much against my opponent and I'm already taking the tower, so you can say that I had to make less decisions, and these ones I've made were just lower skill. I didn't have to try that hard for my win, but at the same time, it was these decisions that were enough to just push my advantage forward and win a game. The thing about heavier decks is, like, with cycle decks you usually want to just play against everything that opponent throws at you and you're more of a reactive, but with heavier decks you have to be more proactive, and the difference is very simple. You basically with cycle decks are reacting to events and try to make the best of them as you can, while with a heavier decks like this Dark Knight Control, you want to be very proactive, which is creating those events and pretty much making them play to your advantage. Like you've seen, he has played a flying bomb and a flying robot, which means I have some mana advantage, and that's why I'm playing Dark Knight in the back. And while it may seem like a very natural move, it's also a thing that you have to recognize when you are playing these decks, because while it's harder to make mistakes, if you miss on opportunities like this, you probably will lose the game against better players. Fortunately though, we're gonna get our damage anyway. This ghost will take the tower, which is very fortunate for us, because when a flying robot is down a tower, it's gonna be very tricky for them to play. And right now, I'm gonna predict this blitz, and that was absolutely excellent. I'm gonna try to protect my piercing ultra, yeah, but that won't work out. However, I'm gonna get some counter push, and he's gonna have to play more mana against me than I did, and I think we are in a very comfy position. The thing that he's gonna right now try to do is go on the same lane as me, so I'm gonna just play a waiting move like a 5th. This 5th will eventually play itself. It's gonna make its way to a Viking tower, so it'll have to be addressed at some point by him. And yeah, he just played flying robot, which I don't think is the best approach in this position, because I will have just enough tools to absolutely shut it down. Right now he's gonna be trying to play some spells, so I'm gonna try to enable it by applying some pressure against his Viking tower. And like you've seen, he had gotten some spells against my troops, but at the same time I've gotten a lot of damage against his Viking tower, and I think we're gonna just close things out against this dude. He has played some footmen, and with that being said, I think he has no ground troops to defend that, and that's gonna be Very comfortable way to show how to close the things out against flying robot. Just try to not overreact to their air spam, try to counterplay as much as you can. Obviously respect footmen because they are very good defensive too, and if you manage to do so, you will succeed. And that's gonna be a wraparound for this video, I think. How to play a Dark Knight Faun King in this meta. This deck is obviously not a standard deck, you don't have a building to defend. You'll have to be more creative with like Dark Knight, Ghost, sometimes Faun King. Obviously you won't be having a big spell, which means like your piercing archer will have to get some value on the offense if you cannot break the position. Also, I didn't show in this game how to break some positions with this deck. The two most important principles is obviously stacking in the back, so if you're entering double mana you will be able to play Dark Knight and Faun King in the back, then you play one of these troops on the opposite side to just create some chaos, and then you plant Piercing Archer in the middle to get as much value as possible. Obviously the attacking schemes will vary depending on your opponent's defense, but that's the general plan. And the another thing that you have to be kinda cautious about, especially playing against this deck, that Piercing Archer can be used as a win condition. And you have to be always ready to just react to that. I don't usually use it as a win condition because my troops just win it by themselves. But when opportunity arises, I'm ready to use it, and I'm ready to account for that my opponent is worried that I'm playing Piercing Archer. It's like rock, paper, scissors, which most of the time you want to win. And that's gonna be it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you want to see more Boom Arena content like this, hit that subscribe button, and hopefully I'm gonna see you in the next episode of Boom Arena.